Thank you. Thank you so much. It's so good to be here. I just love this beautiful community that is filled with such beautiful talent and skillfulness, all of these spiritually gifted masters of knowing, of connectivity, direct connectivity, of energy, of quantum, of whatever it is that you've been called to. It's so beautiful to be here with you. I was asked to speak about something that connects with everybody. And at first I went into these big stories, like, how do I do that? How do I do that? And all of a sudden I heard God just sassing at me, like, knock that crap off. You know exactly what to do. Knock that off. You are all about unity consciousness. You are all about living that most inspired life, about being present, about being at one with that beautiful place where these 84,000 traditions of enlightenment meet. You know that. You can represent that in a way that speaks to everyone to some extent, to the extent in which my language can offer that. So it's really an honor being here today. I had a dynamic when I was my sophomore year in college, where literally speech class, and I noticed my voice shaking and my lips started quivering, and the more you feel into it, the more it's like, oh crap, and I ran back to my seat crying. This is my first time since then that I have not memorized what I was going to say to make sure I would have every single word down and to know exactly which variants I had. And I also had God tell me today, and now you're going to cut out 2/3 of what you had kind of organized in your mind. Like, okay, all right, let's see how this goes. All right, so wholeness. I took a huge topic here. You know, wholeness is a really big thing. I want you to erase these words after I say this, because what we did in meditation is the place from which I want you to live. It's the place that I want you to have as your reality. We live in this world that has a lot of densities and stresses. Those stresses might look like injury, illness, interpersonal distress, or it could look like a lot of different things. And they can throw us out of the balance of that beautiful truth from that meditation of our wholeness. And yet that's who we are. And so I want you to erase those words, because what we did and the power of this group together with what we did, that's our new experience, not this stuff. Sometimes we are invited to get present with where we're at. And where we're at has some new opportunities and greater wholeness unfolding in front of us as we move forward. And that's where sometimes the metaphysical stuff comes in. It always goes back to listening to that knowing in terms of what are those next opportunities that our guidance has for us that gets to reveal greater comfort and ease, whether in our body, in our mind, in our emotions. We always have that opportunity. So 2.5 years ago, I'd just gotten back from Ojo Caliente. If you've been there, you know that like there's nothing that can possibly feel wrong after being at Ojo Caliente. It's just so perfect. Was with a friend, tremendous knowing this friend had, and 50-pound dog bulldozed right into me. I went down. Couldn't get back up. Had to call paramedics to get me to the hospital. And the x-ray tech came in, and I'm like, you can't break God, therefore you can't break this, therefore this vessel. No, I think what I said out loud is, I don't break. I don't know why you're doing this. Well, she didn't wait for the doctor to tell me the results of the x-rays, but she had to tell me 3 times. I could not fathom the words she was telling me that I had a broken leg. It did not compute. It did not make any sense. Surgery, near-death experience, coming out, 6 months on a walker, hopping around on one leg for 3 of those months. During that time, I had an x-ray of my non-affected hip, and the surgeon said, oh, well, you've got some arthritis in that hip. We could give you an injection so you could feel more comfortable. I'm like, no, I was fine before this. I'm going to be fine after this. Just need to be walking on both legs and have an even gait for a while. So different surgeon now, never received the records from the first surgeon. Went back to a discharge appointment last fall and said, can you go ahead and follow up? This still doesn't feel 100% comfortable, and my chiropractor was wanting me to do some things. I'm like, if this is arthritis, this doesn't fit for me to do these things that you're asking for me to do. And the physician's assistant came in and he said, ma'am, you don't have arthritis. And so I looked at him and I said, oh, so it went away. The look in his face, the tone of his voice when he said, ma'am, arthritis does not go away. And I sat there with a smile, just nodding, really appreciating that mysticism. And inside it was like, I know something you don't know. It was just absolutely beautiful to know that I had had support in my life to reveal greater wholeness. And during that time, I had brought in some frequency and vibration technology into my world as well. Of course, the people who were coming to me were people who also had arthritis, bone healing, joint-related dynamics, and wanting to heal from those. And boom, okay, so I get to scratch my head and say, Star Trekian wellness, is that here? Is that here? And are we ready for it? And so it's very exciting to be at that place. God's been after me a little bit and I'm hearing no, we're not going there. I don't know where we're going now. So let me sit for a minute. I really, at the end of the day, love living the inspired life. I love this experience of soulful freedom, of being able to fully enjoy, fully passionately live that most obedient, dedicated life to spirit through divine mind is what I would call it, kind of that life of the mystics. And I like to be free of what disrupts that clear connection. I like to be in what I would call peak performance or optimization. And that's what I want to offer the world. I'm really inspired to offer that great support to anyone who gets bumped around in any ways in the world. And so it's possible. We're here in this time. Everybody who is a master of energy in this room knows this, that it's possible, that this exists, that this can be brought through, that this balance, this optimal experience is available. And so I love that we've got this community so dedicated to being all that they're inspired to be and being connected in all of the ways that they're called to. It's just such an honor. And so I think that might be all I have to say. I have one more thing. What is it? Do you know what it is? One more thing. Enjoy your day. Celebrate this day on behalf of all of those with birthdays to honor us and everyone else here. Thank you so much.
Seija, I have a couple questions. I don't know about anybody else, but I have a couple questions. You said that when you had the hip thing going on and you weren't accepting it, and then other people came to you. You want to talk a little bit about that?
So the arthritis, so I had the broken leg component, right? But then I had the hip component. And so it was at a point where I had, Spirit through Divine Mind had found this frequency and vibration technology and said, this is the company and now is the time. And so I said, okay, how do you want me to pay? Okay, I'll do it. I'm a yes. And so as I was slowly, softly introducing this to the community in a way to kind of discern, does the community want this? Is this of value to them? People would come that were close friends to me, and I'd say, can you come and check this out and give me some feedback? And they were commonly people who were asking for that kind of support as well. Does that answer your question?
It does, but tell me about the interchange, because I have something that I can add to that. So tell me about the interchange with these people. Did they talk about what they tried and how it worked for them? And you shared what was going on with you?
Most of the time, it was really just people in my community where I was simply sharing, I've got this new stuff, you want to come and give it a try? And they said yes. What happens when they come in is I just say, what's going on for you? Is there anything we can do to support you to have a life that's more comfortable? Anything of any discomfort, anything of balance? Are you just here because you want to be connected spiritually and have greater opportunities that way? So...
Because I want, if it's all right, I would like to share an experience that is similar to this, in that my mother had multiple sclerosis. I don't know if, do many of you know anything about multiple sclerosis? Well, my mother was stubborn. And she just, it was a fight for her. She thought this disease, she was at war with the disease, okay, and she was going to beat it. And she ended up eventually in a scooter, one of those chairs that you drive around. She was wicked in that sucker. She could go faster than I could run. And she didn't pay any attention to traffic either, which scared the bejeebers out of me. But she was always at war with this, and then she met a lady who also had MS, and it's very common in the upper Midwest. There's a band around the world where it's more prevalent than others, and then there's an area that comes down into Boulder like this, where to a point. It's very odd that it appears in that area. And back then they didn't know what caused it, they didn't know how to treat it, and she did every experiment in the book. And then she ran into another woman who had MS. And she had also been on a scooter running around. But this woman started getting up and walking more. This woman was having a better health. And so they were communicating because they'd both been doing experimental things. But this woman had it with medication, she'd had it with doctors, she'd had it with surgery, she's had it with everything. And she said, what I did is, she said, I met somebody who talked about peace and flow. And she said this woman talked to her a lot about visualization and honoring her body and talking to her body. Am I on the same venue here?
That's beautiful, and it absolutely works. Yes.
Because this woman actually was up moving around where she had really been for a long time having to be in a wheelchair, and then moved to the scooter, which gave her a little more freedom. But suddenly, after honoring her body and communicating with the body, talking to it and interacting, that it helped her with her movement and her flow. And my mother had extreme pain in her lower back. But she was, by this time, she had really gone the full cycle, and this was toward the end of her days. But what she discovered is when she visualized the small of her back having a plug that she could just open and open her heels and let the pain flow out, that she got more relief than she did from the medication she was taking. Now, that was her witness. And I asked her about it toward the end, and I said, have you ever thought about, had you started this sooner? And she said, had I started this 20 years ago, instead of fighting with my body and being at war with the disease, had I worked with it, and allowed it to exit, she said, I think it would have worked better because in fighting, I was always in war mode. And I suspect you took me right back to that experience with her, and I thank you.
And I look at it from that standpoint of as we release the storylines of the discomfort that we've had, what's left is this peace, this wholeness. And if we can live in that sweet spot of that, we get really clear of this is what works and this is what doesn't work. And we can expand what works in our life. You know, if that's taking 10 steps day one, okay, great. That might mean 20 steps day two.
I think you're correct, or at least that was her experience. She just wished that she had stepped into that communion with her body instead of being at war with. She didn't realize that when she was at war with the disease, she was also at war with her body. And once she let herself embrace and say, okay, it's talking to me about something, that made a big difference. Thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, please.
I was so excited by the title of your talk because, as Nikola Tesla said, if you want to understand the nature of reality, look at frequency and vibration. And my guides, for those who come to the evenings with the chorus, you know my guides are always talking about frequency and vibration. Since you're going to be with us at the fair, and I believe you're bringing your frequency and
Yes.
vibration technology,
I am.
will you just give us a little teeny hint? Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Absolutely. So as I was doing my research, I came across a company called Chi Life. And Chi Life has over 10,000 different Rife frequencies and vibrations for wellness and 1,000 quantum frequencies. And they're delivered through pulsed electromagnetic frequencies as well as scalar waves and sound waves. And it's one of those really unique things. So if we're especially working on something physical, people are going to notice this soft, subtle pulsing or tingling in their body, and just the sense of how does it know to go to that body part, but we've asked it to, right? And so that's the experience on a level of physical wellness. And then the majority of people who come to me, intriguingly enough, are very high-end spiritual consciousness beings who are I don't know, I think they're kind of like me, like, do I really have to be in my body? Can't I just be in this expanded nature? And so they really want to connect into the expanded consciousness frequencies that I've got. So, thank you.
Thank you, Seija.